The duo that we never thought we needed. Hey, what's going on, AMC stock family? In today's video, we are going to be talking about Congress, a senator, and Charles Payne, and how they both have very converging and very parallel opinions. And so over here, we do have the previous closing price, about $37. Not too bad whatsoever. This is not bad because the volume has been declining by 54%, and we still have 35 million shares being traded. And so let me ask you this. On a day like today where the volume is decreasing, we are still at around $37 a share. That is not a bad deal to me whatsoever. And on top of that, we also have a congresswoman and as well Charles Payne. Now with that being said, here's what the congresswoman had to say, the senator, and then we are going to go ahead and talk about what Charles Payne had to say.
The trading that we have seen by certain members of the Federal Reserve. In your speech today, just again a kind of question of the scale of wrongdoing, if indeed wrongdoing is proved, that you spoke about in your speech about a culture of corruption at the Fed, which again is pretty strong terminology. Have laws been broken?
I am concerned about a culture of corruption. When we find out that there have been 3 different high officials at the Federal Reserve who have engaged in practices that may be a violation of law, but certainly undermine the public's confidence about whether they are acting to line their own pockets or on behalf of the American people, that's a real problem. And it's a real problem in leadership. We need a leader who makes it clear. I mean, this actually shouldn't have been an issue. Who could be at the Federal Reserve in a position of authority and responsibility and think that it is okay to trade individual stocks or to move from a bond portfolio to a stock portfolio the day before there is a major announcement about possible changes in Fed policy? This is not hard stuff, and it shouldn't be even close to the line. And that raises questions about leadership. I've already said that I will not support the renomination of Chair Powell, but I think this is a second big problem.
And I know in the past, in the last Congress, you introduced the Anti-Corruption and Public Integrity Act, and your aim was to ban individual stock ownership across many different public bodies, the White House, Congress, the Federal Reserve. If you've seen any of our debates on this network about that topic in recent weeks, we understand it because we face tighter restrictions than those public elected officials. I guess, again, I just come back to the question, would you go as far as to say that any single member of Congress, many of your colleagues, who's ever traded an individual stock in their entire time in Congress is corrupt? Because you're using those words for a few Federal Reserve members, but I'm not sure you're going the same level with others that seem to be in the same boat in your eyes.
I've been talking about a culture of corruption in Washington for years now. I actually ran for President of the United States talking about corruption in Washington. And a significant part of that corruption is when the American public can't know whether or not decisions that an individual who's in power makes are for that individual's own financial gain or for the good of the country. And I think one way that we deal with that is we just say, you can do one of 2 things. You can either be a member of Congress, you can be on the Federal Reserve, you can run a big agency, you can be in the cabinet, you can be in a big political and economic and decision-making position, or you can trade in the stock market, but you don't get to do both at the same time.
Agree. Just to the leadership point, and obviously you're calling attention to the right issues. I don't think Chair Powell would disagree with you, though, that this looks really bad and that the rules need to be changed. In fact, he has taken this issue very seriously. He hasn't shied away from it or diminished it. And just to play devil's advocate to you, he's called for an independent IG investigation, is also doing a Federal Reserve investigation to change the rules, and has not backed any of his colleagues, Clarida, Rosengren, or Kaplan, for what they've done. It seems to be leading on this issue, actually.
This has been dragging on now for a while. and we have found out more about what's gone wrong with this latest Fed report. I believe that this should have stopped a long, long time ago. Look, what does it mean?
Were you calling for the Federal Reserve to not be able to trade members of the Fed to not be able? I know you've been banging the drum on this for Congress, but have you been doing it for the Fed?
I'm sorry. Yes. Go back and read my plans from when I ran for president. It was that nobody gets to be in a decision-making position in Washington and still trade.
It's been a tough week for hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin, also known as Kenny G on social media. This after we learned that there were communications between executives at the trading platform Robinhood and Citadel Securities. This before the Jan 28th move where they prohibited buying of a number of so-called meme stocks, including GameStop and AMC. The talks were acrimonious and they smacked with desperation and many believe illegal collusion. It was highlighted by this internal chat message on January 27th where Robinhood President Jim Swartwout said, "You wouldn't believe the convo had with Citadel. Total mess." Joining me now, former SEC attorney Lisa Braganza of Braganza Law. Lisa, all week Ken Griffin lied, trending on social media. Might have broken some sort of record there. Citadel Securities, in the meantime, broke their silence with a series of tweets that I personally don't think helped their cause. You've had a chance to look at all of this. What's your thoughts?
Thanks, Charles. It's pretty amazing when you see a big, sophisticated company like Citadel respond to this kind of criticism. I mean, honestly, they stopped listening to their lawyers and started listening to their PR folks. And the tweets don't really help. I absolutely agree with you. Lots of stuff that they're saying is, vintage back from January, February of this year. It does not reflect the new information that just came out. So it's a little puzzling.
Yeah, and then there's the Citadel Securities, there's Citadel, the hedge fund. There's a lot of ways you can technically say, no, we didn't speak to them because another entity did. And they're sort of all under the umbrella of Ken Griffin. And I just think what people are looking for here is just greater transparency. At this point, since, I don't know, do they wait for the case to come to a conclusion? People out there really now say they smell a rat and they think something is wrong.
I think the information that came out in the most recent class action complaint filing was pretty explosive. And it's an odd thing for Citadel to be saying, first of all, that, I, Ken Griffin, did not talk with Vlad Tenev. Oh, who cares? The two entities are communicating. We know that now from these communications that have come out and are cited in this new complaint. So now, it appears that Citadel's theory is, that they're trying to sell everybody in the world on, is that if the DTCC, which is that clearing entity that sets can establish margin calls and require additional margin from brokers, and Citadel seems to be saying since DTCC demanded that that Robinhood put up an additional $3 billion to cover its trading, that absolves Citadel completely of any possible wrongdoing, and that just seems ridiculous. All decisions made by companies, by individuals, are the function of a whole lot of information, and to say just because there happens to be this great email from Citadel's standpoint, demanding $3 billion, that does not whitewash everything else. So I think it's going to be really important for the SEC and for class action lawyers and frankly for the public, given that Citadel has decided that wants to talk about this in the public realm. It's important for everyone to be able to see what was the mix of information that Robinhood had. I mean, there are all kinds of things that Robinhood was probably considering at that time. When you're talking to DTCC and they are telling you have to put up an additional $3 billion, I am sure that it's just not an on-off switch. there's probably, there are different things that can happen. And as we saw, they didn't put up $3 billion, but they did establish, some trading restrictions. Well, what else did they consider? Maybe they chose the trading restrictions because that's good for Citadel.
Yeah, and that's the question. And a lot of people are drawing their own conclusions, but certainly there's something there, right? When they say there's if you see smoke, there might be fire. With these emails and these correspondence that now are available to the public, I think it's been a game changer. We'll see. Always appreciate your legal mind. It's great to have someone who's with the SEC help us navigate this.
So if you didn't watch either one of those videos, then you won't understand the main point of this video. The message is that there's not one, but two powerful individuals right now that are advocating for us, both directly and indirectly. And these are just two, because there are hundreds, if not thousands of more advocates for this movement. And so my question to you is, are you going to paper hand this stock? Hopefully the answer to that is no, and hopefully you have even more conviction now because you know that there will always be people defending one of the most resilient stocks on Wall Street, which is AMC. I mean, take a look at the earnings per share percent change since last quarter, 87%. Not only that, we have a sales percentage change since last quarter of 2,253%. And on top of that, again, you also have the senator and Charles Payne. These are just two of the individuals. There are 400,000 other members in the AMC stock community right now. So there's really no reason to worry. And that's exactly why I rhetorically questioned, are you guys going to paper hand this stock? Because we have just too many opportunities right now to let this stock go, or at least that's my opinion. And I'm not a financial advisor, but again, my thesis is that there's just too much opportunity in this one equity alone. And not to mention the market cap is at 19 billion when we were just at almost 30 billion a few weeks ago. That means that there's definitely more room for the stock to go up all the way back to almost $30 billion of market cap. And that would mean AMC would probably go back all the way to that $51 share range because that is what it was trading at when the market cap was around 30 billion. It wasn't exactly at 30 billion, but it was hovering around 27 billion. And so if you round that, that would be 30 billion. Now with that being said, AMC stock family, thanks again for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video.